had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would tell me what to do with Cassie.
Jonathan Oddi, a name that has circulated on social media, the adult performer who went viral for the wild comments he made about Sean Combs and Cassie years ago. But now, all these years later, he has officially been called out at Combs' federal criminal trial in a big way. Portions of testimony have been dedicated to him. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
I had like 15 encounters and I heard lots of business, because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay, for them.
7 years ago, when Jonathan Oddi told that to authorities, no one really took notice, right? It was just the ramblings of a crazy person. But now, in 2025, when Sean Diddy Combs is on trial for federal sex crimes and his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura Fine, victim one in this case, testifies against him, claiming she was coerced into prolonged and elaborate sexual performances with male sex workers, yeah, we look at this a lot different. And in fact, we are looking at what Jonathan Oddi said and himself a lot differently, considering he officially came up in testimony during this trial. Cassie talked about him quite a bit. By the way, I say Jonathan Oddi. I've heard other people say Jonathan Oddi. Haven't been able to get official confirmation on how to pronounce his last name, but I'm going to go with Jonathan Oddi. Anyway, it has been quite a wild journey, okay? And you have to say, with her testimony, does it validate everything that he said? Maybe.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people. Okay.
Okay, maybe not everything, I don't know. But he did say at the time that he was paid to have sex with Cassie in front of Combs. And what is being said now in court? Well, before we even get into that, let me explain who Jonathan Oddi is. So Oddi is this former stripper who was taken into custody in May of 2018 after he allegedly fired a gun inside of the Trump National Doral Miami Hotel and Resort in the middle of the night. The Florida State Attorney's Office says that Oddi fired shots in the lobby toward the chandelier, then draped a giant American flag across the front desk. He also apparently got into a shootout with police officers. Now, according to the Miami-Dade court, Oddi faces 10 charges, multiple counts of attempted murder, aggravated assault, burglary. There really is no real update on his case. It's kind of been stagnant. He's still locked up. But I'll tell you what, when he sat down for a long interview with law enforcement after his arrest, during that interview, he brought up, unprompted, that he was Sean Combs' sex slave, okay? It was a pretty wild allegation at the time, and again, nobody really took notice because this was years before Combs would ultimately be accused of all this, that he would be accused in multiple lawsuits of wrongdoing, before he would end up being charged with federal sex trafficking and racketeering and prostitution charges, allegations being that he formed a criminal enterprise using his businesses to abuse women, including forcing them into coerced sexual performances, including with sex workers. Freak-offs, baby oil, drugs, voyeurism, okay? I'll tell you what, we have been on top of this Jonathan Oddi story and its connection to Diddy for a while now here on Sidebar, and the reason that we can do that for you here is because we get amazing support from our sponsors like Upside. Now, Upside's great. It is a free app that gets you cash back when you buy daily essentials. So I pump my gas, I can use Upside. I go out to lunch, I can use Upside. Maybe I get something at a convenience store, I can use Upside. And why not get cash back when I do all these things, right? This is real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you transfer right into your bank account. So once you have the free Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow the steps on the app, you get paid. So to find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen. But make sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR because you get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Well, now, here's the thing. Cassandra Ventura Fine took the stand, and she testified about her 11-year relationship with Sean Combs. She claims that she was physically abused by the rap mogul, that she was beaten, that she was dragged, that she was kicked. As we know, this was allegedly documented in 2016 hotel footage, photos of her alleged injuries, her testimony, the testimony of others like another male performer named Daniel Phillip, her former friend Kerry Morgan, Dawn Richard from Dandy Kane, all corroborating testimony. And all of them, all corroborating testimony because they all testified to Combs assaulting Cassie. And the prosecution asserts that Combs used threats, violence, manipulation to induce and coerce Cassie into commercial sex acts with male strippers, performers, escorts, that this was done without her real consent. And during the course of her testimony, Jonathan Oddi seemingly comes up. Okay, this is a big deal. So I'm going to read you portions of the transcript where he comes up or seemingly comes up. For example, there's this exchange. Ms. Ventura, who do you know the individual depicted in Government Exhibit 2A624 to be? Answer, Jonathan. Question, how do you know Jonathan? We saw him several times. Who is we? Sean and I. In what cities did you, or cities did you see Jonathan? In Miami, mostly. I don't know if he flew anywhere. Jonathan Oddi, Florida, makes sense. But then there was another part where he came up, and this is big. So the idea being, and give you a little bit of backstory here, the idea being that Combs had allegedly recorded sexual episodes, freak-offs, okay, without Cassie knowing. And the prosecution said that he did this as a way to blackmail and intimidate her into doing what he wanted. But listen to this exchange about a different type of recording, something that came up on cross-examination by Combs' defense counsel. So this is the question to Cassandra Ventura, fine. Did you know whether or not Mr. Combs expressed concern about these videos also being released? Answer, when? Question, have you ever witnessed Mr. Combs express concern about these videos being released? Yes. And Mr. Combs always supported you in not wanting these videos to come out and prevented these videos from coming out? I would say for the most part. There was an escort that you met named Mr. Jonathan Oddi a few times, right? Yeah. Do you know who I'm referring to? Yup. At some point you understood that he'd taken a video, a secret video of you and Mr. Combs and he at a freak-off, right? I thought he did, yeah. When you found out about that, you spent some amount of time, several months, trying to make sure that it went away, right? I did not. Mr. Combs did? Yeah. You understood that Mr. Combs spent a great deal of time and money to make sure that that video went away, right? I didn't know any of the details. Were you aware that he spent a significant amount of money to make sure the video did not get released? No. When you learned that Mr. Oddi had taken a secret recording of you that ended your relationship with him, right? I believe so. You never would have had a freak-off with him ever again, right? No, I'm not going to play anything, but you also had a conversation with Mr. Oddi that was transcribed, right? Or recorded? Recorded. I don't remember, but it sounds familiar. And you were very concerned about the situation with Mr. Oddi, right? Yeah. He seemed like a volatile personality, right? I don't know about volatile, I just didn't trust it. He was threatening to release a sex video of you, right? I don't know that he actually did that. I'm sorry. You don't know if he threatened to release the video? I don't remember. You just remember learning that he did have a video. I was in the room with him and I saw the phone up, and so I told Sean about it right after. But you were concerned that he was recording at the time, right? Yes. And when you raised that concern with Mr. Combs, he did all that he could to get rid of Mr. Oddi, right? And then there's an objection from Emily Johnson, one of the prosecutors. The judge says that's sustained. Going back to the questioning. What happened when you told Mr. Combs about your suspicion that Oddi was recording you? He said, I'll take care of it. That's the most I remember. To your knowledge, Mr. Combs was also concerned about recordings of him getting out, right? Yup. Mr. Combs is a celebrity, as we've already established, right? Yes. And these would have been embarrassing to him and they had been released, right? Yes. Just as they would have been embarrassing to you had they been released. I guess it depends on what content, yeah. Had a sex video of you been released, it would have been embarrassing, right? For sure. That's why you were so upset in that audio recording we just heard, right? So putting aside the idea that Oddi allegedly had a recording of both Combs and Ventura, and we're going to get to that in a minute because he too has apparently spoken out recently about this, but the reason from a legal point of view that this is all so important is because the defense is trying to establish that Combs was trying to protect Cassie, that he would never release a sex tape of her or the two of them, that they're trying to cast doubt on the idea that he would ever blackmail Cassie with releasing sex tape footage, that he wouldn't do that to embarrass her or himself, and also seeming to suggest you ended this whole relationship with Jonathan Oddi because you thought he had a recording of you. Wouldn't you have done the same if Combs had a recording of you and was threatening to blackmail you, you wouldn't have put up with that. You wouldn't have stayed with him. I think that's a portion of where they might be going. But putting that to the side, at one point, when she was on the stand, when Cassie was on the stand, she was questioned about an audio recording where she allegedly berates a DJ who may have had one of these freak-off tapes. And look, this was a different side of Cassandra Ventura Fine than what we were seeing on the stand. Because she allegedly says to him on this tape, if you have it, pull it up or I will kill you, and he will kill you again. The he seems to be in reference to Sean Combs. She also allegedly said on the recording, if you don't show me, I will cut you up. Now, when questioned by the prosecution, she said, quote, I was just sick about it and was feeling pressure from Sean, so I was going in on Sugin, this is the DJ. It was weird. It was a weird day. What do you mean you were feeling pressure from Sean? She's asked. Answer, he was sending me messages because I shared it with him, obviously, right away because we didn't know whether or not it was a freak-off video. And yeah, he just texted me quite a bit and called me quite a bit about it, so I felt like I had to handle the situation. Who, if anyone, was directing you? Sean. Again, this is so incredible because listen to what Jonathan Oddi said back in the day about all this.
I caught herpes, and I came back and I sued him for the herpes and won. But they did Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes were his attorneys, okay? They asked me to turn in that, which was the video recording, and I did so. They gave it back to me accidentally, and it's possible I threw everything out. It's possible I can produce a copy.
Now, Jonathan Oddi recently spoke with News Nation. And what did he say to News Nation? Well, he told News Nation, quote, that he felt bad because I got along with her, meaning Cassie, and I think she's a decent person. And I had a suspicion that she was in a situation that she was in, but I wasn't sure. And now I understand what was going on in her life and what was happening. And him beating her up in the hotel shows me the type of individual he is, and that everything that happened to me is true and correct and in line with his personality. And he described how he would have to wear a costume during these sexual episodes, how he would strip down, how he was paid to do, quote, extra stuff, all while Combs watched and allegedly pleasured himself. Claimed that he had 15 sessions with Ventura Fine and Combs and was paid $800 each time, sometimes multiple times in one day. And when describing how drugs were used during these encounters, he talks about how he was concerned that someone might overdose. And he apparently decided that he was going to take action. And he was going to take action when Cassie was passed out. Oddi said, quote, so after she passed out, I decided to record that in the event anything was to happen. Like if she died or anybody died, it would be on camera, on video, what happened. I wasn't responsible for any of that. I put it on the table and filmed the entire session. I had it transcribed. They had been threatening me, but he, meaning Diddy, would tell her what to say. And Oddi explained he no longer was hired to perform for Cassie and Combs, calling them paranoid, saying, quote, I wanted to guarantee my safety. So I text them, I said, if anything happens to me, I have evidence of being with you. Again, pretty incredible that we went from this.
The hip-hop agenda is an agenda to move drugs law in the United States. You need to involve the DEA. They move all the dope. Okay, all the dope on private jets, which don't get screened by
customs,
by DEA, inside the United States. Okay, they move what's called high-grade powder MDMA. They move cocaine and they move liquid cocaine in their bottles too. Okay, so they put the liquid cocaine in the bottles and they move it. I've seen the liquid cocaine. I've drank it myself. Having sex with Diddy and Cassie. Okay, it's not good. He drinks all the time.
To now, he's officially a part of the Sean Combs trial. Unbelievable. And when you think about, does this validate some of what he said, this is not the first time that we have had a conversation about whether Oddi's claims are in fact true. You might recall that Oddi said this too in his interview with authorities back in the day.
I've had a great life. I've settled $4.125 million with Diddy. Okay, was he scared that I was going to expose him?
I don't want to talk about Diddy right now. I want to talk about you. Help me understand you.
And the interesting thing about that, according to recent reporting from the Daily Mail and the New York Post, Jonathan Oddi may have signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement with Sean Combs, signing this in exchange for $5 million. And apparently, there is a picture of the NDA signed in 2014 that has surfaced. This is according to the report. You see a signature on it. It's over Sean Combs individually and on behalf of Bad Boy Worldwide, Sean John Enterprises. Is that Sean Combs' signature or not? Possibly. And Oddi went on to apparently tell authorities, quote, "My settlement put me in a box. Basically, I couldn't talk because I was going to be sued. They kept following me." This is what he reportedly said. And you know one of the other reasons that this settlement may be the real deal, that he's telling the truth? Because he had been married at one point to this woman named Tanya Troutwine. And the Daily Mail reports that while he claimed in divorce paperwork that he had filed that he was making just $2,000 a month and was in the red when it came to his net worth, less than a month later, he apparently goes on a shopping spree, buys 5 properties for over $765,000, possibly in all cash deals, which again would possibly be consistent with coming into some money, possibly through signing an NDA. And by the way, don't take it just from me. We actually interviewed Tanya Troutwine ourselves, Jonathan Oddi's ex-wife.
I didn't even know about the agreement till he randomly contacted me one night. And it was a few weeks before the shooting. And it was just rambling. And I signed this deal for all this money. And he started just throwing lawyer names left and right. Half I've never heard of. I think Gloria Allred was one of the names I'd heard because I admire her. She was one of my inspirations to actually become a lawyer. I studied her throughout my entire life in her cases. They were very high profile. And he mentioned her and he mentioned a lot of other lawyers' names. And I was just like, wow, okay, maybe, I was looking at it positively that something good, but he was not himself. He was frantic. He's, here, you have to take this look. Here's his agreement. And he gave me a lawyer's number to contact that said he had the full agreement. I contacted that lawyer. He gave me the runaround, of course. He did meet with me. He was very kind. He was very friendly with Johnny, but he refused to go into anything to do. And he actually, I try to work with him to co-counsel, to defend Johnny, and, he kind of blocked it. So at that point, I kind of fear, well, he's a little more favorable to the guys paying for the contract than he is Johnny. And I let it go from there.
It was actually an incredible interview. It's up on a prior sidebar that we did earlier in the month. You can check it out. But just to give you a sample, take a look at this.
He still deserves for people to know why he lost it, what went wrong. I do believe it was as a result of a relationship with P. Diddy that's evidenced, by his contract that he signed. When he did provide me a copy of that contract and did give me permission to show it to the public 7 years again and recently in conversations, he did give it to me almost in fear of his life. Like, Tanya, I've talked to everyone. You're the last person I can talk to. Here, take this. That was kind of the way I caught everything. And it's like, who, what, and I was familiar with P. Diddy, when everyone was back in the 90s. And, I haven't, he's become this mogul and kind of behind the scenes. And I hadn't really heard his name again until Johnny brought it up. But yeah, Johnny was an entertainer. He is a local celebrity. Like, you can go around Miami and ask people who he is and they will know him. I wouldn't doubt it if some of the officers that day did know him, and that's why he's still walking, because he could have lost his life that day for sure.
So, will we hear more about Jonathan Oddi as this trial continues? Let's wait to find out. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.